talk about the Chicago Bulls and what we just watched. In the event that you were unfortunate enough to have just watched this, what just took place, yeah, it wasn't cute, guys. It wasn't cute at all. So we're gonna get into it. But yeah, it let's just say it could have been a lot better. I'm gonna try to give some time for some people to hopefully get in here on this thing. But yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on with this team, and unfortunately, I wish it was better things to talk about. Let's just say it could have been a lot better. I'm gonna try to give some time for some people to hopefully get in. All right, let me. I had to make sure we're set on that end and uh, go through my little early portions of this to get this together, and we're gonna go ahead and get it out to on Twitter. I'm not gonna be here long this evening and take care of some other stuff, but I did want to just chime in about this game. Um, Usually, I stick around and I do a little bit of a answer some questions and stuff and talk about some stuff, but today I'm going to kind of get in and get out talking about this. Um, don't know exactly how long I'll be here, but it'll be an hour or less, I'll say, from the top. So um, let me go ahead and send out the link on Twitter to let everybody know that we're talking about this. But in the chat right now, you guys feel free to chime in and say what's going on, what's up. I appreciate everybody who's here already and the people who will hopefully join as we kind of go through this. Man, this is it wasn't it wasn't good. It wasn't good. It was not good, man. Um, Man. So the Bulls dropped to 0 and 2. Um, just a horrible effort overall, especially on the defensive side for the majority of this game. The fourth quarter was much different. Billy Donovan went to his bench and stayed with them. They actually got the Bulls back in this game. I'm going to tell you, the Bulls were down 10 at the half, and they didn't play well in the first half at all. They had a little mini run towards the end of the first half, and they were able to close it to 66 to 56. It took them nearly 5 minutes to get on the board in the third quarter. Meanwhile, the Pacers, I think, jumped out to an 18-0 run to start the half and literally blew the game open. In the fourth quarter, the bench came in and brought them back actually within 11 after they were trailing by as many as I think like 26 or near 30. Brought them back within 11, but kind of just ran into the talent ceiling as the Pacers brought their starters back in and just could not obviously finish off that kind of a comeback. Man, I'm gonna tell you something right now, and I feel so bad because first of all, I had such high hopes for what this team could be this year. I did not think that we're talking about, oh, we're looking at a championship level team or anything. I never thought that. I did think there was a possibility that they could make it to the playoffs. I appreciate you, Joseph, about the hoodie. Um, I did think that there was a possibility that we could look at them going to the playoffs. I did think that. Um, I did think that Zach Levine would turn the corner defensively. I did think that Wendell Carter Jr. would at the very least keep the same uh, qualities that he'd shown. I did think that Laurie Markkinen, considering this is a contract year for him, would would have his best season on both ends of the floor, not just scoring, because he definitely is scoring a little bit more consistently right now. But I did; these are things that I thought, and I did believe that Patrick Williams would have a solid rookie year. That right there is about the only thing that I think we're pretty much assured of. He only had 9 points today, 2 rebounds, an assist, and a block. But I mean, he had that in 22 minutes. He played as well as you can expect a rookie to play, who was literally surrounded by guys who suddenly have regressed mentally to the point where they don't even appear to be NBA level players anymore. I'm trying to tell you the level of basketball that I watched in the first half was so. I'm gonna let you. I have coached youth basketball ever since my son was 7 years old, all the way up to this year. Some of the stuff that I saw the Bulls doing in the first half, especially, was things that I literally had to call or have to call timeouts for. Obviously, we're not playing right now because of the pandemic, but I'm talking about teams that I've had in the past with kids ranging from 7 years old to 14 and 15. I would call timeouts to say stuff like, man, come to the ball. Come to the ball. On the inbounds play, when they're applying pressure, if you're a ball handler, come to the ball. Create an angle for the inbounds pass. Stuff like that. You can't throw lazy passes. Stop just leaving the pass out there. If you see a guy, he's baiting you or he's got his hand already in the passing lane, you got to put something on the pass. Throw the pass with intention. We always talked about with the kids, throw intentional passes. Don't throw these lazy lollipop passes. Same type of feedback that I'm giving middle schoolers. I'm literally watching the Bulls look to be as if they're in need of this. I'm going to say something, and I don't expect this to be the case all year long, but after 2 games, the Bulls looked better last year under Boylen, and I don't mean that as a shot at Billy Donovan. I don't think it's Billy. What I think, because I think it's too early to say that, right? I think it's too early to talk about Billy Donovan. He hasn't really had a real training camp with these guys. He hasn't really had the time to really implement his system. I get that. So, and some people might say, well, Brooklyn's not struggling like this or whatever. They're just more talented than the Bulls are, to be quite honest. So they're not as good now as they will be, but because of how talented they are, theirs looks like their rough periods look like this, and the Bulls' rough periods look like this trash that we just watched tonight and the trash we had to sit through on Wednesday. It's just really ridiculous. Man, I'm going to go straight down the line. Lauri Markkanen had 16 points and 9 rebounds. He was 2 for 8 from three-point range. This is 25%, 6 of 14 from the field overall. Now, you might look at that and you might say, oh, Lauri didn't play that bad if you look at the box score. If you watch the game, you would see that Lauri Markkanen is one of the worst defensive bigs you ever find on this earth, in the universe, in anywhere where human beings inhabit. He is one of the worst defensive players you'll ever see. And I don't care if it's low post defense. I don't care if it's perimeter defense. I don't care if it's defending somebody from getting to the water fountain. Lauri Markkanen is one of the worst defensive bigs you'll ever find on earth. Okay? He couldn't hold his base if my niece was backing him down. When I'm tell you, every single player, I'm going to speak some 2K for you. If Lauri is guarding you, everybody he's guarding has Hall of Fame back down Punisher. This is where we are. And Lord, let's not let him get caught on anybody on the perimeter. He couldn't move his feet with assistance from Geppetto. I'm just trying to, it's bad. It's bad. Defensively, it is horrendous. Okay, so I know that he had 16 points. I know that he had 9 rebounds. And that was decent for an offense. And he was playing aggressive, even though he can't finish through a tissue paper of contact. But this is where we are. And I'm going to wrap all of this up in an overall message. And because the name of this video is the Bulls have some decisions to make. And I'm going to talk about those decisions. But as far as Pat Williams, I don't have a problem. He didn't have his best game today. He looked frustrated in the way that it appears for him to look frustrated, because he's not a really emotional kid. He doesn't wear his, feelings on his sleeve. He's pretty reserved. But I started to look at him tonight, and he looked frustrated. And that's something that Billy Donovan's going to have to guard against, because you cannot afford to let a group of veterans who do not know how to play and do not know how to win to negatively impact the mentality of a very promising rookie. You got to sacrifice them suckers to save him. You got to. Wendell Carter Jr. is one of those suckers that I'm talking about. 9.6 rebounds, 2 assists. He took a three that looked like he shot it with his eyes closed and his feet. If he's okay, the experiment is over. Like, okay, so I originally I said I'd give him about 10 games. To hell with that. It's no more threes. Okay, no more. Now maybe I'll wake up tomorrow, I'll feel better, but right now, no more threes from Wendell Carter Jr. I don't care if if your man goes into the locker room to go to the bathroom, you don't take the three. You take at least 4 steps in and you shoot a free throw line jump shot or you move the ball. It's not helping his game. It's not helping. He said after the first game, I was out here worrying about the wrong things. Yeah, how much do you bet I can guarantee you I know what the wrong things are that you've been worrying about. It's your contract season. You're trying to prove that you deserve this or that, and you're trying to expand your game when you haven't honed the foundation of what got you drafted. What got you drafted was supposed to be that you were a defensive-minded player, you were a rim runner, you played solidly back close to the basket. You're not doing that. So how can you expand on something? It makes no sense at all. 9 and 6, 2 blocks. If one of the number one things, the first things you learn when you learn how to play defense is you stay your body on a straight line between the ball and your defensive assignment. Okay? So if the ball's here, your guy's here, you're like this. This is why a lot of people think you just hold your arms out for no reason, right? But that's not really, it's an alignment thing on defense. Obviously, when they're talking about on-ball defense. On-ball defense, you hold your arms out so that you can be an obstruction for passing lanes, low passes, high passes. You have your arms already in position so that you can challenge those different things. But when you're away from the ball's on the other side of the floor, you hold your arms out because it aligns you ball to my defensive assignment. Why do we have NBA players, guys who've been in the league for multiple seasons, that seem to be struggling with this concept? Like, even last year, the Bulls weren't a good defensive team. They weren't this bad. What happened? Like, I can't believe I'm begging for at least the form of a team that didn't even get invited to the bubble. I mean, pre-bubble Bulls would be better than the effort that we're seeing right now. And Wendell Carter Jr. is so guilty of some of this stuff. You know how many points in the paint the Bulls have given up in the first 2 games? So Wendell Carter Jr. apologized to his team after the first loss to the Hawks. What's he gonna do tonight? 2 for 10 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3, 5 for 6 from the free throw line, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks. Coby White, I feel myself going back on a lot of stuff that I said. I originally said that give Coby White 10 games to see if he can develop as a point guard. But there are no steps being taken. No steps are being taken. The only time he's doing anything that looks to be in the least bit positive is when he's just flat catching and shooting or attacking, driving downhill, looking to score. And I know this is what everybody's always been saying. Everybody's like, yeah, he's not a point guard. He's not a point guard. And believe you me, that is definitely the direction I have been leaning the whole time. I don't think that's a horrible thing, a horrible reality if that's what it is. I want to give this guy 10 games or so to see if we can see some steps being made. But gee whiz, it's been so horrendously bad that I don't even know if you can afford to do that. I mean, my man, Billy Donovan after the first game, he said, guys are coming. This is Billy freaking Donovan saying this, okay? This ain't just a guy over on the side, says at home on 63rd and Halsted giving his opinion. This is the new head coach of the team, says that guys are coming down the floor and they don't know what sets they're in. They don't know where they're supposed to be. There's confusion on offense. That falls directly on your point guard. And then so he comes down the floor, dribbles dead in the traffic, dribbles dead in the double teams, and Before the Bulls even moved the ball for the first time on the perimeter, we down to like 8 seconds on the shot clock. He has been egregiously guilty of over dribbling on multiple occasions, on multiple possessions over both games. Today he came out looking for the three. He hit 3 straight threes. I do fault Billy Donovan for this. I think he sat Kobe down right at a time where he was kind of finding the stroke. And because he hasn't had a ton of success this year, you kind of want to build off of everything. So I think that substitution might have come at a poor time. But that doesn't excuse his just horrendous defense. I mean, they did a replay where Stacey King pointed out Kobe's absolute indecision and absolutely clueless approach to double teaming the low post. So first and foremost, you got to double team the low post anytime Lauri's got the primary assignment on somebody's posting up. Domantas Sabonis smacked him in the face. Have you ever seen How High? You remember the pimp on there and he named Baby Powder? Domantas Sabonis, Baby Powder. Smacking Lauri Markkanen all night. So here we got to get the double team. We got to get the help. You can't stand there and wait. You already know he can't guard it. You know what I'm saying? You already know that he can't guard. I'm like, so it's just like you get and it shouldn't be this way because it's not a switch, right? It's a 6'11" player on a 7-foot player. You should have an opportunity. Like, Domantas Sabonis is a really good player, but he ain't a guy who should automatically command a double team every time. If you are guarding Domantas Sabonis and you automatically have to double team the ball every time, you're a very poor low post defender. I'm not saying he's not going to get any buckets. I'm not trying to play him like he's a scrub. What I'm saying is he's not a dominant low post player to the point where every single time you have to double. If Lauri's guarding him, you got to send help fast. And Kobe's literally supposed to be double teaming the post, and he's standing there. What are you waiting on? An invitation? It's the weekend, man. I know during Christmas time, the USPS and Amazon work together, but your invitation lost in the mail. You got to take it upon yourself to go down there and double team that ball. It was just ridiculous. And I'm going to tell you something. I would say I'm most disappointed in Zach LaVine. I really am. And here's the thing about Zach. Like, Zach is a gifted scorer, right? Zach can score in his own little way. And I say that for a reason. In his own little way. And I was hoping that he had turned the corner in this way. But Zach can score in his own little way, in his own little pockets. But he does it so much as an individual. He's not a leader. He's not a leader. He's not a leader. He is supremely talented as an athlete. He works on his game ridiculously on the offensive side. But he scores in a way where you get a lot of empty numbers. This is the reason why he put up 25 a game last year and the Bulls still were a poor team at home, not getting invited to the bubble. And my hope was that he turned the corner a bit. You know, you got a better coach. There's a different approach here. You know that you're not a young player anymore. Your body is starting to mature physically. It's got a little more muscle than when he was just the thin leaper. He's not that guy anymore. Game refined on the offensive end. And he was 6 for 13 tonight, which was not a horrible percentage. 3 for 6 from 3, 17 points, right? So you say, well, man, 17 points in 29 minutes isn't that bad. Defensively, he was so bad again. And you weren't guarding Trae Young tonight. He was just so bad. Like, his approach on defense is mindless. Like, it's mindless. It's like, did you prepare for this? Or did you just come out like you were at LA Fitness or something? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. And the way that he scores, man, he scores like a guy who should be a third or fourth option. And I hate to say that. It pains me to say that. It does. But it's true. It's true. He scores like a guy who is a third or a fourth option on a great team, a third option on a really good team. Zach can go ahead for the rest of his career and average 25, 24 points a game on horrible teams, or somebody can put him where he is supposed to be, and he can average about 18 or 17 a game on a really good team. That's just kind of what it is. That's just kind of what it is, man. I thought Daniel Gafford gave really good effort, of course. He usually does. I thought defensively he played about as well as can be expected. He makes some mental errors on defense for sure. But I like him as ideally, I like him as a bench big, a big coming off the bench. But right about now, man, I'm not so sure that he doesn't give you a better chance to win or better chance to start games than Wendell Carter Jr. I know that sounds crazy. And if you have to make that kind of swap, it's an indictment on, what the previous regime did. But who's going to sit up here and tell me definitively that Daniel Gafford's not a better player than Wendell Carter Jr. right now? You can tell me definitively that Daniel Gafford doesn't give you a better chance to win than Wendell Carter Jr.? I don't think anybody can make that point. I don't care if it's Wendell Carter Jr.'s family. You cannot tell me definitively that he gives you a better chance to win than Daniel Gafford. And that's a shame. That's a flat freaking shame. And I don't mean that as an insult to Daniel Gafford, but one guy's a second round pick and the other guy's a lottery pick. Which one do you think you're supposed to get the most out of? Otto Porter Jr. is so freaking out of shape right now, it doesn't make any sense. He looks like the dude who we just saw, I don't know, he was partying in somebody's basement or something, and he had on, looked like he had Shang Tsung's alternative outfit on. Like the costume that you get if you buy the deluxe edition of Mortal Kombat. He's in here partying with no mask on, with that on, and out here showing up to the game looking like James Harden's. You got James Harden's personal trainer, and this is the reason why he's so off balance throughout the game. He doesn't have his legs under him. What he is doing is off of talent, but he doesn't really have his legs under him. And I know a lot of people say, "Oh, but it's the pandemic." Everybody was in the pandemic. Everybody don't look like Otto Porter. Everybody doesn't look like Otto Porter's neck is fat. Come on, man. 10.6 rebounds on 4 of 12 shooting, 1 for 5 from 3. Chandler Hutchinson came in, did really good, gave him a really good effort. He's in a tough position because he's playing hard, giving good effort. But Porter's just better than him from an overall skill level standpoint, even though Hutchinson's a much better athlete. And you need Porter scoring off the bench. So it's hard to find out where Chandler gets the minutes. But I thought that he was definitely a part of that run. He was +2 for the night. Archie Diacono, he played well. He came in, he played hard. He played the best defense at point guard of any player who played today. And that was a big reason why he was +3, and he was part of the comeback. 5 points. He had 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. Archie's problem is he's just not talented enough. He's just not talented enough. That's just it. I thought Garrett Temple played great. I thought the reason that they signed him really showed. He actually has already assumed a leadership role on this team. Why is Garrett Temple, who's been there for a half hour and who just got off COVID, doing a better job of leading the team than Zach LaVine, who's been there and knows all these guys? And I understand Garrett Temple's a veteran and he's much older, but there's something to be said for familiarity, and Zach LaVine should have the edge in that way. I mean, it shouldn't be like, when do you see Zach talking to teammates? He's just out there going, "Give me the ball in the wing." Like, dude, y'all are sucking. Insanely sucking on one side of the floor. And you're getting nothing on the other side, but just got the same look on his face all the time. There's no leadership. None. Tomas Satoransky came in and flat 100% outplayed Coby White. And I know Coby White came in hot and hit the threes, but Satoransky showed you what it could look like with somebody who actually knows how to run the point guard position. That's essentially what you saw. Somebody who, this is what this could look like. And here's the thing about Satoransky. He's clearly not the answer, right? You can't take him and say, "Oh, we got our point guard." No, you don't. All this tells you is that you really need a point guard, because the closest thing that you have to it gets the most out of your talent. So this is pretty much, it's a win in that situation. And if he's your backup point guard, maybe that's not too bad. He's got good size, pretty sure with the ball, could be a better shooter for sure, especially because he's not an explosion guy. But overall, he doesn't hurt you if he's your bench guy. But the problem is he's the Bulls' best point guard. And I don't know how long we're gonna play this game. You know, I said give Kobe 10 games, but I'm gonna be honest with you. If Tomas Satoransky started against the Warriors tomorrow, I'm not gonna tell Billy Donovan he had a quick trigger. I'm not. Because my initial concern was that if you move Kobe White out of the starting position right now, what does that do to his confidence? Well, I'm worried about what it does to his confidence with him sucking at point guard. So I don't know. Denzel Valentine, I thought, played fantastic. Came in, gave good energy, shot the ball well, 3 for 4 from 3. Moved the ball extremely well on the perimeter. These are all things that we knew he could do, but Borland wouldn't play him. Did not look like he had been sitting out all that time. You know, wind was a little shaky, which is maybe the reason he only played 13 minutes, but he absolutely needs to get more minutes. Adam Makoka, he plays so hard, but he is one of the least skilled offensive players in the NBA, especially of wings. He's such a bad shooter. I mean, this dude can't shoot a skittle in the ocean. Okay? I'm talking about the biggest ocean in the world, and him sitting next to it with a skittle. He would miss if he went into a shot motion with it. It ain't good. So he plays hard, he defends, but he's such a liability from an offensive standpoint. I just don't see what the redeeming value is. The best thing about this is we didn't have to watch Cristiano Felicio run around looking like an aimless wild man with short arms. That's the best thing about what happened today. It was just bad. So I said the Bulls have some decisions to make. The decision is, what do you do with Kobe White at point guard? My answer to this, I'm going to stick with my 10 games, even though by the time those 10 games run, we might be 0-10. And I would not have a problem if Billy Donovan makes the call before that. But at some point, I believe ultimately Tomas Satoransky's got to be your starting point guard. It's got to happen. And you talk to Kobe and say, man, this is who you are, man. I understand, it might not be whatever, but, it is much worse situations to be in than to be the guy who we're saying, hey, you're Lou Williams, you're Jamal Crawford. This is who you are. Come in off the bench. You, Otto Porter, Ryan Arcidiacono, you guys, Ryan Arcidiacono's the point guard off the bench. And Kobe White's the 2, Otto's the 3. 2 really decent scoring options coming off the bench. That's a decision that has to be made as far as Kobe White. As far as the center position, I'm telling you right now, you can call this crazy. You can call it whatever you want to call it. But Daniel Gafford's starting for me at center. I'm not even waiting. Wendell Carter Jr. doesn't get a mulligan. Daniel Gafford starting at center in my next game. I am not going to sit up and watch you give this kind of an effort and walk around looking ridiculous out of the face when you're just not doing basic stuff. Basic big man principles, you're not doing those things. I'm sorry. You got to go. You got to sit down. My new starting 5 at this point is Tomas Satoransky, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, Lauri Horrible Markkanen, and Daniel Gafford is in the middle. Honestly, I feel like they could really use, first of all, Satoransky greatly improves the way the offense runs. And Daniel Gafford gives you the active body on the inside. His problem is he struggles with fouls because he wants to block everything. But I would rather have to rein in that kind of energy than to have to put jumper cables on somebody's nipples to get them to play hard. I can't do it. So to me, those are what the biggest question, the biggest decision that they have to make is Zach LaVine worth keeping and taking up the kind of space from a salary standpoint, from a presence standpoint, as he has to take up because of how much money he makes, how much money he's ultimately going to command on the free agent market, and how talented he is. He is the epitome of a trap player at this point, in my opinion. He's a guy who's going to put up numbers, who is going to be effective, but he's not going to lead you to the types of results as a team that you're looking for. You have to beware of these players. These kinds of players are worse for you than guys who just flat out suck. Because guys like this tease you with greatness, or they tease you with this potential. But ultimately, you find out that they're going to give you the most empty 20 points a game possible. And I think that might be exactly where he is. Because the problem with this and problem with players like Zach is that you got to pay Zach a certain amount of money. But so when you pay him this certain amount of money, it limits what you can put around him. Now, true enough, Otto Porter's taking up a $28 million slot. That won't always be the case. So, yes, you could put a more effective player there, and then maybe that bumps Zach down a notch. But even still, I'm not going to 100% say it's time to move Zach, but I have gone from in the first week, like the week leading up to this season, and feeling like Zach could really be ready to turn a corner this year, to the point where I'm just looking at him like, I don't know what else it is. I don't know what else it is you're going to bring. I just don't know. So to me, those are the three things. Is Zach here for the future? Kobe, as a point guard, what are we going to do with that? And Daniel Gafford needs to supplant Wendell Carter Jr. So I'm going to look at the chat and see what you guys have been saying. I had to get that off my chest. I had to. Like I said, Joe, I appreciate the compliment on the hoodie for sure. The wife made it, actually. So she saw the design, and my wife has a Cricut machine, so she is a killer with this thing right now. So, we've been designing stuff, and people, whatever. It's been dope. You're right, Teray, we do need help. Mac Too Much said Kobe ain't a point guard. I'm about with you. I understand. Matt Skizzy said trade them all. I was almost with you, Matt. Cameron Powell said, what's up? What's going on, man? Trey said you scared for this season. Yeah, I bet. Teray, I tweeted the same thing about Cade Cunningham. I really did. I'm not even going to lie to you, man. Mac Too Much said we look like the worst in the NBA. Right now, I'm going to be honest with you. I think the Bulls, I've watched a lot of teams play this year, man. I've watched a lot of teams play this year. I think I've seen some of 16 to 18 teams play this year. The Bulls are the worst team I've seen. And that's not an emotional answer. That's real. I haven't seen anybody look as bad as the Bulls. Nobody. To raise the defense is a problem. It is. Well, I'm not a Knicks fan, but I'm going to be honest with you. The Knicks don't look as bad as the Bulls. I'd rather be a Knicks fan right now. I'm trying to tell you, the Knicks don't look as bad as the Bulls. They don't. They don't look as bad as the Bulls. I'm telling you, the Bulls look so bad right now, man. I'm not sure that whatever team wins the national championship in college basketball in a COVID-infected year wouldn't give the Bulls a good game. I'm just telling you. This is where we are. This is where we are. Nate said, how it going? It ain't going that good, Nate. I came in this season thinking we could get to the playoffs. I forgot it. Yeah, I was with D. Jones said Kobe White is trash. I ain't going to go that far. But he ain't a point guard. I'm almost positive of that. Do I think that Zach LaVine is an all-star this year? I think Zach LaVine's gonna have all-star numbers, but I don't think he's an all-star anymore. No, not like this, man. Not like this. Defensively, man, this is bad, man. I mean, he's really bad on the. I'm talking about really bad. I ain't even talking about like Steve Nash bad. Steve Nash is a really bad defender. I ain't even talking about that. I'm talking about worse than that. Like, he plays defense like he has literally taken his brain out. It's bad, man. Yeah, Chris Dunn did bring the defense. Unfortunately, he didn't bring nothing else because he wasn't never healthy and he was a horrible offensive player. But yes, he did bring the defense. Tony said it was easy to see from last year that Kobe and Zach backcourt won't work. No, man. It can work if you got a third guy. Like, if the Bulls had a big point guard, like a 6'6" point guard who, defended. He don't have to be a fantastic athlete, just a ball control kind of guy. Can run an offense, can knock down an open jump shot. Don't have to be an explosion guy. If they had that kind of a point guard, then they could play together because one guy takes the small forward. But I'm gonna be honest with you, both of them are so bad defensively. I don't think you can have them both on the floor at the same time, man. I really don't. Not in win. Not in win. Nobody in the no good team can win with two players on the floor that are that bad defensively. And the Bulls don't even just have those two guys. Wendell Carter Jr. he plays defense like you can't. And Laurie, come on, man. Laurie knows what's going on. He just, no. I'm too light in the butt for that. No, no, I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna do it. You know what? The Bulls don't need Chris Dunn. The Bulls need somebody that's going to defend. Just try. Okay, just try. You know what I'm saying? Bro, just try. You know what I mean? Like, Chris Dunn's an elite perimeter defender. I'm not even saying they need an elite perimeter defender because usually when somebody's an elite perimeter defender, they have a gross deficiency in some other areas. There's few guys who are so great that they can be both, right? They can have something on both, Or sometimes you have an elite perimeter defender that has one distinct offensive skill that stands out. Bruce Bowen, hey, I can knock down corner threes, and in this offense, that's what I need to do. Stuff, guys like that. I mean, even Marcus Smart worked himself up to like a 35% three-point shooter. I think 36% is his high, right? Even he did that. But you don't even necessarily need a guy like that. You just need somebody who's going to play solid, decent defense, and we don't have that. Yes, rest in peace to Brody Lee, Luke Harper, man. Me and June was like sitting here like, are you serious? Like, dude, we love Luke Harper, man. I like the Luke Harper gimmick much more than the Brody Lee gimmick. I know a lot of the hardcores and don't like that and didn't like that, but man, he was dude is one of the most talented professional wrestlers to me overall, just from a character standpoint, and fantastic athlete as well. So I really, I'm praying for his family, man. He had kids, wife left behind, that's just horrible. So I hated to hear that for sure. It wasn't COVID. It wasn't COVID. His wife said that it was a non-COVID related lung issue. So that's what his wife put on social media. So it was just horrible for sure. But yeah, D Jones said he should have traded up for John Morant. Man, I wanted John Morant so bad. Didn't happen. But Sade said I coached AAU. I will call timeout after one possession. I mean, I'm telling you, man. Especially if you coach AAU, right, and you coach in a AAU division where there's really good teams, because all AAU is not created equal, right? You would have to call a timeout after the first possession with some of the stuff that they do, because against those really good AAU teams, bro, you give 4 or 5 minutes, you off the floor. They blew you out. They blew you out with some of the stuff that they're doing. So it's just crazy. He said, you watching the Spurs right now. He's worse than Aldridge. I mean, Aldridge is not a really good defender either, but he's a veteran and he knows how to play. So it doesn't look the same way. Spacer Jones said, I'm telling you how I feel right now. I said, Laurie did his job low key. He got Sabonis in a lot of foul trouble. You need to get on White. No. Laurie's job is not to get Sabonis in foul trouble. That's all offense. He has to give an effort. He has to stay there and at least be an obstruction. He has to play stronger. Literally, all Sabonis was doing the entire night was drop the shoulder into the chest, move this little frail guy off his base, and essentially create enough space to get a semi-uncontested shot or a lightly contested shot, or I get to the free throw line, because you're a flailer. Laurie's a flailer. That's horrible defense. And when you defend that way, you break your entire defense down, because as soon as that ball drops into the post, it requires everybody to collapse and help on you. And you're requiring this help against a guy who generally doesn't require this type of a defensive, multiple guys to defend him. He's a really good player, but he's not that guy to be needing that. It's terrible. It's just terrible. Doug says Wendell Carter sucks. Yes, he did. Yeah. Ian said he lost his confidence. I don't know if he better get a GPS because it's bad. He said you'll see a different Wendell. Yeah, a different. He said that. Sabonis fouled out. Sabonis, dude, are you serious, D Jones? Are you serious? Sabonis fouled out. They was up 30. I mean, so what are you talking about? What? They were up 30 when he fouled out. That's like Derrick Henry has 32 rushes and 260 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Roquan Smith comes out of someplace and forces a fumble. And then you go, well, he forced a fumble. And then they take Derrick Henry out because he's tired or something. You go, well, Roquan did his job. He forced a fumble. The game already over. He already ran over you. No, he didn't do his job unless his job was to help his team lose. Oh, my God, it was terrible. Too many Celtics players, they want to score. They only score hardly. Anyone else on this roster tries to do anything but score. I don't think it's, Tonio, I don't really think it's selfishness. I really don't. I think it's just these guys don't know how to win. They don't know how to play winning basketball. They don't. They just don't know how to play winning basketball. They don't enjoy this losing. They don't enjoy this. I can look at them and tell that they care, that they're bothered by this. They just don't know how to win. They don't know how to win. And I do fault them for effort, though. Effort and the willingness to apply themselves on defense. So in that way, I do agree with you, but I wouldn't call it selfishness. I call it that their priorities are wrong and they don't know how to win. They don't know how to win. I don't think it's time. I mean, they just got the front office, and this is only the second. The front office just got hired, man. It can't be a front office change already, and they just hired the coach. So it's not that. If you look at the fact that you got years upon years of substandard performance, it's the players at this point. It's the players at this point. The Bulls suck. I mean, that's pretty. You know what I'm saying. It's just. I mean, come on. It's a pretty overly simplistic synopsis there, but I hear you, Brandon. No, he just don't want. I don't want him shooting threes. I don't want him shooting threes, and I don't want him starting. I don't. I think I'm not saying that's forever, but for right now, no. I think Daniel Gafford gives you a better chance to start the game off well, and let Wendell Carter earn those minutes back, and then it is what it is. Spacer Jones said, "How did Kobe look tonight?" I don't think he looked very good at all, in my opinion. Max said they have no fight. They definitely did seem to give up. The second unit came in and I thought gave them a much better showing. But before that, yep, I agree. It looks like they gave up to me. I thought WCJ was a win protector. So did I. Didn't happen today. They better guard. They better guard Curry tomorrow. And you know what's so bad? Golden State has looked bad, themselves, right? But Golden State lost to the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks. So all blowout losses are not created equal. So, man, Nelson says predictions ain't looking shaky. They are shook. They fell off. They made a fool out of me. I feel like Michelle Ndegeocello out here. The Bulls made a fool of me. The Bulls made a fool of me. I had to sing. I had to. Y'all made me do it. It's just it's terrible, man. I mean, the D Jones. A lot of people said that the Bulls. The people didn't think that White was a real point guard. We saw 1 year college basketball, so a lot of times guys can do more than what it appears. I don't think anybody would have told you that Bam Adebayo could turn into what he has turned into coming out of school. There's a lot of guys that morph into different things. So I don't blame them necessarily for that, but you do have to say at some point, okay, we see what it is. It's got to change. We have to adapt to what this is. I said, how about them Knicks though, man? I didn't see Obi Toppin didn't play tonight, did he? So I don't know. Somebody let me know. Did Obi Toppin come in later or something? Because I think I was like in the second quarter. He hadn't came in yet. I was on here trying to talk. Think it's Billy Donovan's system or game plan hindering the team. I honestly, what I think it is, Spade, I don't think it's that his system is bad. I mean, Billy Donovan's system has proven to work for other teams, and he's won where he's gone. I mean, not a championship, but he's won. So he's had some success. I think it might be a mismatch with his system and this group of players, which it takes time to turn over a roster and get it to be, fit around a system. So that's a thing. We'll see what happens, but I'm. It's too early to blame Billy Donovan. It's too early to blame Arturas Karnisovas or Mark Eversley. They haven't, especially when you're talking about this all season, coming through COVID and the pandemic and all the things that the ways it's hindered putting in a new culture, right? So it's too early to blame them. And for in some ways you give the players some level of slack with that, but there are straight basketball concepts, man, that they are not doing. And these are not things that are affected by COVID or the pandemic. These are things that I know these guys have seen, heard, or whatever most of their lives because they've been playing basketball that long. So it's not a coaching or a front office thing at this point. Um, Saturansky's the only player on the entire roster that has any playmaking DNA inside him. Everyone else is shoot first mentality. I think Archie Diacono is not a shoot first guy, but I would agree the Bulls very much lack guys with facilitating types of approaches to the game, and that it shows. They also lack guys with defensive minded approaches to the game, which shows even more than that. So yeah, White's a defensive liability, definitely average bench score. He's not an average bench scorer. He's an above average bench scorer. He's a horrible defender, but he is a above average bench scorer. I mean, Kobe White can come in and give you 30, but the problem is the other guy might have 32 that he's supposed to be guarding, but he's an above average bench scorer. You said LaVine was going to. Oh, you see, he said taking it from Harden. See, he gonna go ahead and put it in and shape it to say something else. It was bad enough at this point just to say he was gonna go all NBA. Now you say I say he gonna take it from Harden. See, you see what I'm saying? Think how you do. Um, Levine can want out by break all he won't render. If he want, you know what? Levine asking for a trade is like an ungrateful child running away from home. Go on then, sucker. You ain't contributed to nothing in here. Go. You think I'm supposed to beg you? Stacey King says some supers. I don't know what you're talking about, Brandon. Sabonis does that to most bigs down low. No, man, not like that, man. No, I've watched Sabonis play. He does not bully people the way he bullied. This is the second game in a row, man. He doesn't bully everybody like that down low. He doesn't. He is a physical guy. Yes, that's how he plays. And he's not a fantastic finesse guy, but Sabonis doesn't straight dog people. The dude had a triple double, bro. Like, I think it's his second or third triple double in his career. I mean, man, he missed 3 shots. Okay? No, man, no. He don't do that to everybody. He doesn't do not like that. Not like that. Oh my God. Yeah, I think you are overselling Sabonis. Sabonis is a good player. I am not saying that he is not a good player. He is a good player. The level of resistance or the lack thereof is my problem with Laurie. That's it. The lack of resistance. That's the issue. What's going on, Coop Farilla? With the Pistons. Losing habits, Brandon. You're right. They have losing habits. Bulls roster is consists of a bunch of average Joes, a few above average scorers with 0 specialists. It's not one specialist on the Bulls roster. I mean, Zach's a scorer. Zach's a scorer. Kobe's a scorer. Saturansky's an average, like you said, average Joe facilitator. I'm not gonna call Zach and Kobe average. I think that's a little much. I'm not gonna call Laurie average because he's a 7 foot guy who can decently shoot, and he's a decent enough athlete to attack the basket effectively, and he can take it all the way out from 3 point line and get to the basket most of the time. I think that's slightly above average, but the problem is that all of them have these drastic flaws that keep you from winning. That's that's the problem. You know, man, Otto is making too much money to be like $28 million. I think is what the player option was today. You know, James is just thick. Uh, everybody's saying Chris Dunn back. Big face, what's good? He said I made a $100 bet the Bulls were going to make the play. Man, I'm sorry about it. Me and you both out here bad with that. We need Captain Kurt. You need we need Heinrich back. Man, I loved Kurt. At least he tried. If you can merge Archie, Kobe, and Thomas as a PG, then the Bulls will have a side. Oh yeah, if you could merge, well, we still wouldn't have. Well, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Because Archie tries to defend. He gives the effort. He's just not a great athlete. Kobe's a good enough athlete, and Tomas Satoransky's got the approach and the size. So maybe you own to something right there. So so you know what's bad? Bulls fans, we walk around trying to merge players all the time. We've been doing that since the Jordan era. I remember we used to talk about if you could merge Eddie Curry and Tyson Chandler, you'd have the ultimate center. Why we can't just never get the ultimate center? Why we always got to merge? We got to do some sort of doggone hybrid, man. What is going on, man? Oh my God. Yeah, Spencer Dinwiddie. Yep. It's that. I mean, hindsight is 2020. Well, Monta Ellis head hops Brian Gardner. He's bigger than Monta Ellis. Nobody jumps quite like Zach, but I don't know that Zach Levine is yeah I don't know that Zach Levine is. I don't know. I don't think that's a horrible thing. Zach Levine, Monta Ellis, and Monta Ellis. I don't think that's exactly it. No, I yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Um, it's not a horrible comparison, but you know, this is why Knicks fans are so excited about quickly. Team looks entirely different with a real point guard on the floor. He's our only point guard. Bulls have no point guard. I mean, Tomas Satoransky's a point guard. He just ain't talented enough. But he plays the right way. He's just not talented enough. And he does have really good stretches. The Bulls are their best with him on the floor. And if he was surrounded by enough talent, I think he'd be okay. Um, you know, uh, I wouldn't put it past the Bulls to start Denzel Valentine at some point. I don't know if he can play point guard. Not in the NBA. He did a little bit at Michigan State, but I don't athletically. I really worry about him trying to guard points. Um, yeah, I'm definitely fed up. Let's see. He's on the nipples though. And you know what, Tonio? I think you're right. Kobe is a six man of the year kind of a player. He is. He really is. Because he can score like that. But when you have a guy like him playing outside of their role, it starts to look bad for everybody, man. It starts to look really bad for everybody. Um, Doug, you said you thought he was the next coming of Kobe, Zach Levine. No, man, it take a lot more than hops to be one of the greater players that ever played the game. Zach never showed that he was much more than just a scoring kind of guy. So, Spidey Cat, you said you got to trade Zach. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. I don't know that that's not the case, Spidey Cat. I'll be honest with you. It would have to be one of those really tough trades, one of them really, really tough ones to make because people don't want to do that. You had a guy who averaged 25 a game. The instinct of a lot of people is, I did a video last year saying the Bulls needed to trade Zach, but he drew me back in. And I started saying that, no, maybe, I saw him in the preseason and he was scoring with this crazy efficiency. He was playing with this crazy level of confidence. But man, he comes out here to these first two games of the season and just looks straight doo doo boo 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 bad. I'm just bad, man. And I'm not even talking about offensively. Like I said, I'm talking about defense. I'm talking about leadership. Nah, Zach would be loved in the Knicks uniform. Yeah, he would till y'all start losing again. Cade Cunningham, man, I'm telling you, the Bulls keep looking the way they're looking now. That's going to be the biggest name of the year. That's going to be the most popular Bull, non-Bull all year long. The young Corey is trash. You are not lying. You know, overall, that is not a, more like a Louis. Crickets were just as hard to find. I know they was, man. I got my wife the cricket. Man, I don't know. I don't know. I think it was early this year. I think it was definitely was before the pandemic. And yeah, she loves it. That she's a crafter. She do all kinds of stuff, man. And yeah, she loves it. So it's cool. I don't think I'm ever gonna buy another T-shirt or hoodie ever. I'm just gonna design the image myself and say, "Ma'am, can you put this on a shirt for me, please?" Um, no, man. Jones, I could tell you like my boy James Oliver. Y'all put no stock into what happens on the defensive side of the floor. If somebody scores, y'all say they had a good game. There's so much more to this game than how many points you scored or if you got somebody in foul trouble. If you sucked hard on the other end of the floor, you did not play cool. You did not. And he was terrible on the defense. Terrible. 2 straight games. Uh, Ultimate Heat fan, you know what? You're right. They do need a culture changer. Garrett Temple's trying to be that. I just don't know if he's talented enough to be of that level of influence. So we'll see. Because a lot of times the culture is trickled down from the best player. And that's part of the problem with Zach. Zach is so much of an individual. And he doesn't exude anything except for I'm just gonna go out and do what I'm gonna do and score my game, score my points, and work hard. I'm gonna make some Instagram videos, running around chairs and taking jump shots in the sand, and that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna turn a little red, because I'm exacerbated a little bit. I'm a little upset about it, but I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna lead, and I'm certainly not gonna defend. Dude, yeah, whatever, man. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Zaga beating the Bulls by 15. They're Jalen. Was Jalen Suggs. I like that kid. I really think Lonzo would help quite a bit too, to be honest with you, Skizzy. I do. Alex Skokin, I love how Pat Will is looking as well. What I'm scared of now is I just don't want this losing culture to contaminate him. That's what I don't want. See how about bases win 24 to nothing and I thought it was 18 to nothing. It was 24 to nothing after halftime. Just crazy, just crazy, But you know what, Freddie Calipari, you said Sabonis got 40 pounds on Laurie. Well, whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? You know how long I've been watching Laurie get bullied in the post? You know how long I've been watching that? You are a professional basketball player who is 7 feet tall, who is well aware that much of your game is going to have to take place close to the basket. You dive cut to the basket. You do all these different things. Your job is to be a good basketball player. You have world-class strength and conditioning coaches. Trying to add muscle for him is not like you and I trying to do some sort of body shaping or body transformation. This dude has everything you could ever want from that standpoint at his disposal. I don't care nothing about his 40 pounds that he given up. If you giving up 40 pounds and you giving up strength, it's because you didn't work hard enough to add it. You know what? If we were talking about just some kid someplace who's not a part of an NBA team and all that sort of thing, that's totally different. But you know what? If that's how you're gonna play, then you know what you better be? You better be a freaking killer from outside. And I'm telling you, you better be Kevin Durant. Because Kevin Durant is light in the butt, frail. He can be overpowered down low, but you know what? He's a bucket. He is one of the greatest, arguably, I said arguably the greatest offensive player we've ever seen. So you better do something on those lines if you're going to be just moved off your base at will like Laurie. That is just not going to work. Just Michael Bridges, I think is who you're talking about, Sade. I think, right. So, yeah, I mean, I would agree with you there on Freddie. You know, they're not talented enough. They're not, and I think that's what's it's abundantly clear. You know, abundantly clear. What's going on, Rex Powers? You know, I appreciate you coming through. Yes, the Cardinals did lose today, Cameron Powell. That was a great thing, and I loved the message from Greg. I always call this man Greg Kittle, from George Kittle. You know, he said he grew up a Bears fan, so you know that's gonna get Bears fans talking. Maybe George Kittle want to be a Bear, but you know, honestly, we don't even need you. I mean, yeah, you get George Kittle, you take him, but I like Cole Kmet. I really do. You know, I'd rather get an offensive. I'd rather get a left tackle than George Kittle right now, if I'm being honest. But that's bad. That's the Bears talk. Expect for Kelly or Wiggins to have 25 plus. Man, it's crazy out here. Matt Machine, we're 2 games in. Not it. You know what, Matt? It's not panicking. It's just really reacting to what we saw today. You know, it just is. It's just what it is. Um, you know what, Ben Mooney, what they did with Laurie was I think they put him in a position to prove it. They said, okay, we're not gonna just give you this extension. We're gonna prove it. We're gonna have you prove it. And it depends on what you're looking for. I mean, he's scoring the ball in the first 2 games. You know, 22, I believe, in the first game, 17 or something like that in this game. He's scoring. You know, you look at that, 18 and a half a game. Oh, okay. Or what, 19 and a half a game? Oh, he's scoring. But it's not enough. It's not enough. I don't think a guy who's averaging 18 and a half points a game is not below average. That's not below average. It's, you know, it's certainly not good enough, but it's not below average. It's not good enough because of where he was drafted. That's why it's not good enough. It would be different if Laurie Markkinen was drafted where Daniel Gafford was drafted. That'd be different. But when you are a lottery pick, the type of defense that he plays, it just is not. That's not it. That ain't it. Xavier says Otto is trash. I mean, I like the Bulls. Definitely need to get rid of Otto. That's what that is. What's good, EP Dub? I appreciate you coming through here, sir. Yeah. See, but D Jones, everything you saying is all offense. Nothing that you're saying has anything to do with defense. You're not addressing the defensive aspect at all, which is where the major problem is. The Bulls are losing these games, these first 2 games, because of defense. Every comment you make is about offense. It's like, I hear that a lot from fans. Fans, they talk, oh, they look at the box score and they say, oh, he had 20, he had a good game, it wasn't his fault. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. You know, it's not. It's not how it works. Merry Christmas, everybody. I appreciate everybody who was here. Bulls passed on Obi Toppin. Hey, I don't have a problem with the Bulls passing on. I'm very happy with Pat Williams. Very happy. So it's quite possible that, you know, both teams just have good players. You know, I know how great James Harden is, but I would not want James Harden on my team. I just wouldn't. I know how great he is. And I know that just by virtue of having James Harden on your team, you're probably a better player, better team. James Harden wouldn't want to be here if he was the last snowball anywhere. He wouldn't want to be here. And I personally wouldn't want James Harden on the team. So that's just what that is. But yeah, man, that calendar is for me to stay somewhat on track, but it don't work all the time. But it's my fault. It ain't the calendar. I have to start Star Wars Squadrons. Let's see what else we got here. What's going on, BG? Appreciate you coming through. I'm playing NBA 2 guys just completely real the build. I need to rebuild the Bulls. I need to get my frustrations out on 2K. Everybody keeps saying that Blake, no, he's not a point guard. Shaq Gordon, Day says Dennis Rodman guarded Shaq, no excuse. And you know, Dennis Rodman is one of the greatest defenders to ever live, right? So I'm not expecting everybody to be him. But Laurie's 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 lack of his lower body strength is so poor, and this is something that I know that he's aware of. I know he is, man. I mean, you got to see it, and you can't tell me that the coaching staff hasn't said, "Hey, Laurie, if we have, what happens at the end of the season, right? They have exit interviews with the players, right? And there is no way in the world that Laurie has not been talked to about his lower body strength and improving in that area, improving his core strength, and improving in that area so that he can be a better low post defender. There's no way possible. He's been bad at it for too long, and he's 7 feet tall. So there's no way in the world that hasn't been brought up to him as an objective for the off season. Like, you can't mandate it, right? But you give people, best practices. I'm sure he's had that, but he keep coming back in here butt narrow like a number 2 pencil. I can't. I don't understand, man. I don't get it. I can't go. Big Willie, the Bulls sucked in the first 2 games. That's what happened. That's what happened. Oh, and another thing, Blake just said something. Why in the world are the Bulls so bad defending pick and roll? It is the single most run play in the NBA, but the Bulls can't defend it to save their life. Why is this? We are wondering this at the moment, and I am not understanding what it is the problem. Y'all made me go into an accent that was like from the West Indies, from Africa, from another place in the Far East. I'm having an identity crisis trying to figure out what's going on with these people. Oh my God. It's just crazy, man. Putting on weight does not lose your shooting touch, man. It's plenty of fat guys that can shoot. That's not it. It definitely doesn't affect your shooting. If anything, it might affect the way he attacks closeouts. That it could do. So here's the thing. So here's what you have to ask yourself. What is it that you want to be? Okay? Do you want to be a guy who can somewhat defend in the low post and is a knockdown shooter? Or do you want to be a guy who maintains slightly above average mobility for a 7-footer? Because Laurie moves pretty well for a 7-footer who is horrible on defense in the low post. Because honestly, man, Laurie to me is a greater liability being the kind of low post defender that he is right now than he would be if he got stronger in that area, and even if it cost him some mobility, and so now he's more of a liability in switches. Either way, it's going to be a little bit of a liability, but I would rather him be a liability there, where it's easier somewhat to help him and it doesn't break the defense down quite as easily than it is in the low post when you're just getting the ball down there and they just bang, 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 bucket. It's just, I don't get it, man. I don't think, no, man. You know how? Okay, I got 2 names for you. I got one name for you, Tonio. You said, I think Giannis's extra muscle strength is the reason his free throw shooting is so bad now. I got one name for you, Karl Malone. Karl Malone was not, freaking Steve Nash at the free throw line. He wasn't. But Karl Malone was one of the more muscular dudes you ever want to see in your life. Not only was he a fantastic mid-range shooter overall, and now Karl Malone was one of my least favorite players in the history of the NBA. I've never disliked a player more than Karl Malone. Like, he's just not my kind of guy, right? But Karl Malone's a 74% free throw shooter for his career. Up around 80% several years, right? Didn't start off that way, but honestly, the more muscular he got, the better he got as a free throw shooter, to be totally honest. So muscle doesn't have anything to do with that. And I'm gonna tell you something. Ray Allen had something that he said, and Ray Allen's one of the greatest free throw shooters of all time. He said, free throw shooting doesn't have anything to do with actual talent. It's about repetition. You find a routine that works for you, and you repeat it over and over again, because nothing changes about a free throw. So, when you're shooting the ball from the field and you got defense coming at you, and you dribbling to the left, you dribbling to the right, it's a step back. It's no two shots from the field are the same from a physical standpoint. Every single free throw you take is the exact same shot. It's from 15 feet. You can stand at the exact same spot that you stood every other time that you shot it. And the rim is just as high. Everything's the same. So if you find something that works, you continue to repeat it from a free throw standpoint. That's why that makes sense. It has nothing to do with muscle mass. I think most bigger guys just don't tend to be great free throw shooters, which is one of the reasons why, you say that, so I think that's what the tendency is, to lean it towards that. But even if you look at muscular, smaller guys, right? Okay, so like Alvin Robertson was pretty muscular guy, right? 6'3", 6'4", one of the really great defenders that ever played the game, 74% free throw shooter. Michael Jordan added muscle mass. Michael Jordan was super skinny early in his career. He added muscle later on to play against the Detroit Pistons. Didn't affect his free throw shooting. I don't think that that's it. Who do they target in free agency? You know what, Kevin? I'm gonna be honest with you. I've said this over and over again. The Bulls' route to success has never gone through free agency. It never has. And that's got to do with the organization. That has to do with the climate. A lot of people don't want to play here because it's cold. New York is different because it's New York. But in Chicago, the Bulls have never, every time the Bulls have gotten good, they've gotten good because of the draft. They've drafted well, and they've made a timely trade. Just think about it. Chicago Bulls era team. They drafted Michael Jordan. Draft a trade for Scottie Pippen. They drafted Horace Grant. They drafted B.J. Armstrong. It was a trade for, I think it was a trade for John Paxson, or maybe it was a free agent deal, but traded for Bill Cartwright, traded Charles Oakley for Bill Cartwright. That's the core. That's how they got good. Derrick Rose era team. They drafted Derrick Rose. They drafted Joakim Noah. They drafted Luol Deng. The one free agent they added was Carlos Boozer. That was the one they added. This is always how the Bulls have gotten good. Every time they've gone hard in free agency, they always strike out, right? So I remember that year they had Grant Hill, Tracy McGrady and Tim Duncan. Everybody came to visit, and they was this close to getting traded. The Bulls are always this close to getting this guy. They don't get him though, right? I think they ended up signing Ron Mercer or somebody afterwards. Didn't get Tracy McGrady. Had all these guys. I mean, Tracy McGrady came and threw out the first pitch at the White Sox game. Still didn't sign. It all went to hell, right? Then, obviously, LeBron, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh said the Bulls, they seriously considered the Bulls. They seriously considered the Bulls and Houston, but they ended up settling in Miami. That's it. They traded for Dennis Rodman, like as Sade just said. It's always a timely trade, or it's the draft. It's never free agency. It's never free agency when the Bulls actually build a winner. It never is. So I always hesitate to even ever look at that as a way to build a winner in Chicago, because it just hasn't ever proven to be the route. And until we have a climate change or something to that effect, I don't, the only thing that can change that, honestly, is for the Bulls to get some sort of transcendent star that people want to come play with. And the thing about Derrick was, first of all, Derrick didn't stay Derrick for long enough because of the injuries. And Derek had the type of personality where he wasn't going to recruit. He's not going to do all of that. So he didn't he didn't even get a chance to get into the full flight of his stardom where he would have been able to draw guys like that. Bulls almost signed Carmelo Anthony. He decided to go back home, instead of signing with the Bulls. He said he regretted it, but this is what it is. So it just, this is, yeah, I mean, Bulls management got a really bad rap started with Scotty and Mike, and it just has continued on. I think it's about at this point it's about ownership, not management, because management has changed several times since then. What has been the constant is the ownership. So it is what it is, man. You know, I'm not, we'll see what happens tomorrow. You know, see what happens tomorrow. Perhaps they come out and they play a better game tomorrow. Perhaps they come out and give better effort. Maybe there's some changes in the starting lineup. I'm telling you, man, I'm telling you right now, I haven't checked Billy Donovan's post game press conference. But if I was him, I'm going to be totally honest with you, man. I'd start Daniel Gafford tomorrow. At the very least, I'd start Daniel Gafford. Even if I didn't start Satoransky, I'd start Daniel Gafford. But I would, like I said, I'd give Kobe a little bit more time, because in my opinion, Kobe has a tougher job, right? He has a tougher thing to do. Kobe has to learn the point guard position, which is the toughest position to learn in the NBA. He's doing it with a new system. He's doing it without having the benefit of a full training camp. He's got a new coach, knew a lot of stuff. He didn't start at all last year, except for, I think, one game before the pandemic hit. So Kobe's got a tougher job, so it would make you a little bit more patient with him. I don't see how in the world we're finding patience for what Wendell Carter Jr. is doing right now. Where? How? What's happening? What's going on? What's going on, Hollywood Sports? I appreciate you, bro. But you know what I'm saying? Somebody got to help me. Somebody got to help me, But guys, I said, like I said, I didn't want to go be on here for too long. When a little bit over an hour. I certainly appreciate everybody coming through as usual, man. You guys are awesome. And then try to, I may stream tomorrow after the Bears. Hopefully, I won't be upset. This is Jacksonville. This is a game we should win. Mike Glennon's starting for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, yeah. So, but I'm saying that, and we'll lose 39-17 or something stupid. But we'll see. So I'll be back tomorrow, probably more than likely, to talk some Bears. So if you guys are Bears fans as well, watch out for that link. Thankfully, the Patriots don't play tomorrow because I cover the Patriots for Heavy.com. So I won't have to necessarily work from that standpoint. So I'll actually get a chance to watch the Bears just as the pure fan, which is pretty dope. So I appreciate you guys watching as always. God bless.